welcome back for another book review. This time we're in the car because this is going to be my recording spot for a while. So, let's talk about this book. This one is very similar in title and author to one I just barely talked about. This is Fairy, not to be confused with Fairies, The Other World by Many Names by, again, her name, I'm never knowing how to pronounce, but Morgan Daimler, that one, yep, every time. This book. So while the last book from her, again, the titles are so close. I feel like maybe we could have come up with something a little different personally, but here we are. Fairy is for the world, where fairies was for the inhabitants. So this is a small little book talking about the various lands, specifically only going over more of the Celtic regions, so Irish, Welsh, Scottish, and English is kind of the main places that the author talks about. She includes in the very beginning of the book that it was an active decision not to include anything for the Norse, though apparently there was a huge influence, especially on the Scottish, so she did include the Norse in the other book, but not this one, so mostly this is just talking about the various lands and the information about them. So I give this one a 3 out of 5 star. To be honest, her writing style is just not my favorite. It's extremely academic in the way she presents information. It's not for, like, really the contemporary audience. It's not for people actively wanting to, like, practice. It's more of an, again, like an academic analysis of old texts, old translations, old beliefs. You're constantly proving your point by bringing out other people's to confirm your own, and it's just not a style I like. When I come to my witchy books, I'm really wanting them to be for the modern reader and the modern practitioner, and this just really isn't it. In fact, it often comes across in a very judgmental way towards modern practitioners, and very much like, oh, how dare you believe that they could be this way. And it's just constantly pulling back to old texts, anywhere from like the 90s, clear back to like the 2nd century, and everywhere in between. And so this just isn't my thing, and it's a small book anyways to begin with, so it just reads very much like a college essay of some kind, where it's just trying to prove a point, and you're just constantly using your sources to prove your point, and it's just not the style I personally like. The writing's pretty boring and dry, and it just doesn't capture the magic of anything really modern pagan. It's very cold and sterile, and it just feels like you walked into your local university and they're giving a lecture on the history of the land of the fairies. And you're like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then they rip the magic from it and you're like, oh, okay. It's kind of how this book goes, and most of her books are like this, to be honest. So on that note, the recommended audience for this is definitely going to be those who are more academically inclined. Some pagans, absolutely, modern pagans, capital P pagans, actively want to know history. They are history buffs, they want to know everything there is about the past, and are totally chill with that type of writing. If that is you, this is the book for you. If you're not that person, if academic writing is extremely boring to you, like it is to me, you could probably skip this. There's a little bit of information, but honestly it's not enough to really, and it doesn't relate it to the modern perspective, modern experiences, so you're not really going to get much out of it. Now if you want to know the history, and again, more academically inclined, you want to know, you know, from this source, and this source, and this says this, and this place said this, and this dude said this, this is for you. And it really just goes over if you want to learn about those particular lands for the fairies. There are a lot of different options that are discussed in here, but again, it's also kind of confined to the spacing of this book because they are very small, and also for just the kind of 4 major regions that I talked about at the beginning of this video. So if that's your thing, you'll like this book. If not, there's better ones out there. My current favorite, when I think about if you want to learn about the Fae, is going to be Urban Fairies. That one was a lot better and really was more applicable to modern pagans. So anyways, I would love to know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it's patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day, and until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.